Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am studying all day. It's kind of nice. After quarter close, I decided with the conference coming up, I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, but I am actually going to a conference in New York. It's the AICPA's Women's Global Leadership Summit, I believe that's what it's called. Let me know if you guys are going, because I would love to know like how many of you guys are going and if I'll get to meet some of you guys there. But anyway, that is later this week. I decided, because things have been so crazy with work, and then I'm also going to be traveling, and then after that is Thanksgiving, that I took the 2 days before the conference off. So I basically have an entire week off, which is really nice, and I have just been studying. Today my plan is to just study all day. Tomorrow's Tuesday, I'll study all day, and then I'll try my best to study as much as possible while I'm in New York as well. So I wanted to give you guys an update about how FAR is going. If you guys are new to my channel, I took FAR back in August, and I walked out of that test knowing that I did not do well. And honestly, I went into the test feeling like I was not prepared enough. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we were closing then the second quarter, and it was just not good timing. In the future, I definitely plan to try and coordinate it. In the past, I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to miss out on valuable time by putting it off because work is crazy. But now I'm starting to realize, like, if I don't do that, then I'm going to be stressed, which means studying won't be as successful, and I'm just going to do this all over again. So anyway, that's kind of some backstory. What I've been doing this time around for my retake, I basically gave myself 6 weeks. And of course, I will update you guys as we get closer, because I don't know if this is actually gonna work. I'm hoping that what I'm doing is helping, and like the changes that I've made have helped, but we won't know until I get my exam scores back in December. So on December 11th, I'll find out my score for audit, and I'll find out my new score for FAR. And fingers crossed that I'm halfway done at that point. It would be super nice. But anyway, after I took FAR, I knew that there were so many things that I wanted to change when I was studying audit. I wanted to take notes better. I wanted to just really focus on stuff and not worry so much about like finishing a chapter. I wanted to understand the chapter. I really wanted to take my time and learn it. So I changed a lot of things when I started doing audit, and I've talked about that in prior videos, so definitely check that out. But the issue is with FAR, with my retake, what am I supposed to do for a retake? You know, like, I already learned all the material. I've gone through the entire book. I've gone through all the lectures, all the simulations, all the multiple choice questions. So I really struggled with how to actually approach the retake. I knew I didn't want to take like a full 14 weeks or 12 weeks to go through the material again, because I didn't think that was necessary. So I gave myself 6 weeks, and the first week or so, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take notes again, I'm gonna work problems and kind of go that route, and that did not work. Taking notes was taking too long, and a lot of the stuff I felt like I still remembered a little bit, but the note taking was taking so long that I wasn't even working on multiple choice questions. So I realized, okay, I need to do something different. And that's when I started doing a little research, and I found out about Becker's final review. I purchased that when I purchased my Becker stuff. I just never used it before, and I didn't know what it entailed. I knew that I got a separate little book, but I didn't know that it came with a whole nother set of like lectures and simulations and questions and all of that. So I researched that a little bit. I realized that you actually download it onto your physical computer, so you don't need internet when you're using it, you just need a computer. And I started realizing that that's probably what I needed to restudy. Like, I've already gotten the base knowledge. Obviously, I'm gonna have to relearn some of the difficult topics that I maybe forgot, but I don't need to go through each chapter one section at a time. So I downloaded Becker's final review, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2.5 weeks or so. At this moment right now, I'm filming this on Monday, I'm putting this up on Monday. I will have 2 weeks until my test. So my plan was to finish the final review, and with the final review, so my plan was to finish the final review and then leave myself 2 weeks to go through multiple choice questions as much as possible and work on simulations. I felt like with audit that worked, like giving myself that amount of time to like just constantly do as many problems as I possibly could helped me a lot with the multiple choice questions. I felt like those went pretty well. The simulations are always difficult. I don't know if you could really prepare yourself for those because they're so different on the actual exam than I feel like they are like with any simulations that I've seen. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I had 2 weeks to do that. So I made sure to get through the final review. Like I said, today is my first day of working multiple choice questions, and I can tell already that what I did with the final review was helpful. I seem to be doing pretty well on the multiple choice. Of course, there's gonna be random ones where you're like, seriously, like why did you miss that, Sarah? But for the most part, I feel like I'm doing way better than I felt like I was doing before. So of course I need to keep going. I'm gonna be doing this all like the next 2 weeks, trying to do as much as I possibly can because I want to pass this test. I don't want to have to restudy this. So anyway, with the final review, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on how it worked. I got a ton of questions about do I think it would be enough for if you just were studying FAR like from the beginning? And I have to say no. This is definitely a review. It's definitely something that you would do after you go through the other material. Now, with that in mind, I obviously already went through that a while ago, so I didn't feel like I needed to go through the material again. But I'm gonna pull out my book because I have some notes in here. So basically what I did is I went through each section and they split it up into smaller categories. And this is actually how the actual test is structured. They have like 20% this, 20% that, 5% this, whatever like that. So they try and break it up like that. So there are topics for everybody that are more difficult. For me, I think pension is really difficult, tax is really difficult. I scored really high. I wish I had my paper, but they sent me like a summary of my test for FAR, and I did really well on government, which is something that a lot of people struggle with, but I personally, like that one was like one of the easy ones that like I just kind of got. And I don't know if it was just because Becker was really good at explaining it or for some reason it just made sense to me. But regardless, I did really well on that topic, which is funny because when I started doing the final review, I'm like, did I learn this? Like, I don't even remember learning this stuff. So anyway, with Becker's final review, I don't think that it would be enough just to do the final review. I definitely think that you would need to do the regular class and then do the final review. And that's what I plan to do in the future. I'm hoping that I don't have to do it again with FAR or with audit, but with BEC and with reg, I plan to just, you know, make sure that I allocate enough time so I can do the normal book, then do the final review, and then do my multiple choice and simulations like at the very end. I feel like that would be sufficient. I feel like you would be very prepared doing that. And that's kind of their intent for the final review, is that you just get an overview. In the past, I have with audit and with FAR before, I did leave a little bit of extra time so I could go through and really like summarize or like review some of the chapters that were like in the very beginning, and I feel like this is kind of what that is. So like I said, again, I don't think that it's sufficient by itself. If you think that you'll need a little bit of a little booster, I think this is for you. A lot of people ask me too if there are more multiple choice questions, if there's more simulations. Yes, there are probably 100 or 200 extra multiple choice questions. Those I did not see the same. I don't think I saw the same multiple choice questions in the final review that I saw in the regular class. And then there's a ton of simulations. I think there's 6 sets of simulations that have like multiple parts within those simulations, if that makes sense. So you are getting a lot of questions that you wouldn't get if you just had the regular class. Now, with that being said, I feel like the final review does a good job at points of going into what you need to know for the test. But there are topics where maybe I just needed more of a review than what they had, but there are topics that I actually went back to the normal class and rewatched the lectures and tried problems that way, because I just felt like they weren't touching on the topics that like the questions were asking, if that makes sense. Of course, I've done this test before, so I have a pretty good idea of like, okay, I remember somewhat having that question or whatever. So I did go through and I figured I'd show you guys or tell you guys what topics I went back and took notes on. So the first, let's see, I'm gonna try and do them in order. I think I have them in order right now, but so basically I just took my normal note-taking skills. Hopefully you guys can see that. There you go. So I basically just took some paper. This is Erin Condren notebook paper. And I just went through and basically just came up with what I needed to know for each topic. So the topics that I felt like I needed more than what the final review was kind of going into was partnerships. That was actually a topic that was not in my book. I don't know if my book was just a little outdated or whatever, but partnerships wasn't even in my textbook before. So I had to go rewatch that lecture. Pensions, because there's a lot to do with pensions and there's a lot of formulas and, you know, different things that you have to take into account. So I took notes on that. Income taxes, for some reason, the deferred tax liabilities and assets, those are so confusing to me. I still need to go back through and get a better handle on those, but I took notes on those. Foreign currency, because you have all the different transactions, translations, and I just wanted to make sure that I had, like, you know, when you use the current rate, when you use the historical rate, stuff like that. Capital leases, I remember getting lots of questions on capital leases, and that might actually change in the new 2019 test, but I knew that I wanted to make sure that I had a good handle on those, because I felt like when I went into my last test, capital leases and operating leases was an issue for me. I felt like I did not remember it. I was not doing well. And then the last topic was government accounting. And again, like I said, I did really well on government accounting, which is surprising because I went back and I didn't remember it very well. But I just remember that I did well on that, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, maybe I got a 70% because I did really well on government. You never know. But for some reason that seemed to not like jog my memory, so I wanted to make sure that I had good notes, that I would do well again on government. So in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics. I felt like I needed a little bit of a push. I needed a little bit more than what the final review went into. But of course, there are tons of topics in here that I felt like they did a great job of going over. And yeah, so anyway, that is kind of my update. I hope that answered your guys' questions. If you have any more questions regarding the final review, let me know. Again, I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm hoping it will, but I will definitely update you guys when I take my test and when I get my scores, because I like documenting this for myself, because then I can go back and see like, okay, what did I do that helped me pass or made me fail or whatever. But I feel like it's also good for new people, because I personally love watching videos and getting ideas for how to study and what worked, what didn't work, and all of that fun stuff. So anyway, again, if you guys have any questions, hopefully I went over everything. The only other thing that a lot of people asked when I asked if you guys had any questions regarding final review is my coffee order, because on Instagram I always post my like laptop with my coffee. I get a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Normally it's a small. I get cream with mocha, and the key to the mocha is I don't like when it's too much. Like, they sometimes give you way too much and it's like not even, it doesn't even taste like coffee. It just tastes like overwhelming chocolate. So I get 1.5 pumps of mocha and extra ice, because I really like it cold. Like, I don't want it to be like just slightly cold. It has to be like ice cold. So that's my Dunkin' Donuts order. It's pretty simple. I really haven't tried a ton of other coffee places because I just know that I like Dunkin' Donuts and it's cheap. Like, it's like $2.40 or something for coffee, so it's not too bad. But anyway, again, if you guys have any other questions related to the final review, related to FAR, related to anything like that, let me know and I will try and answer them for you guys. And cross our fingers that this is it. Hopefully this is the last time I have to do anything for FAR, because I don't even want to deal with the changes, and I wouldn't even know where to start studying again. Like, I felt like the final review was good in this situation, but in future situations I have no idea. If this doesn't work, I don't know. The other thing that I wanted to mention is after I take FAR, I feel like my nose is running. After I take FAR, I will take FAR November 26th, and then I won't find out my exam grades until December 11th. So for those couple weeks in between, I'm not gonna start studying a new section. I've realized with FAR, especially, moving on to audit, I felt like was a good idea because I had like a whole month in between, and I got the majority of audit done while I was waiting for my score. But in the future, I'm gonna try and schedule my test so that I find out my grade before I start studying a new section. It's really hard to remember when you start studying something new, but also I would feel like I'm cheating myself if I start studying a section and then I stop studying it to restudy. You know what I mean? Like, for me, my brain works like I have to focus on one thing, and so if I start something, stop it, and then restart it later, it's gonna like mess me up. So I'm gonna take a couple weeks off while I wait to find out my exam scores. Once I find out, then I will either have to restudy if I failed one of the sections or both of the sections, or I will move on to BEC. I already scheduled my BEC exam. I think it's for sometime in January, but because obviously I'm switching around what I'm doing, I'm probably gonna have to reschedule it to be later so that I can make enough time to study, if that makes sense. Because before I was planning on just going right into BEC, and now I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, restudying FAR has been hard enough, like going back after all that time. I'm just hoping that like the fact that I'm not gonna start studying new stuff, that if I have to go back to audit or back to FAR, that I will be good to go and it won't be such a hard transition, if that makes sense. So anyway, for any of you guys who are studying, hang in there. Definitely days where I'm like, I'm so done with this, like I just need to be done, but in the end it will be worth it. It will be worth it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.